Hi everyone, Darren Hunter here with the Unbusy podcast show. I'm with Michael Sands from Teams by Design. And Michael, in our last podcast, we went through all of the stuff that's a ball and chain to business owners. It's killing their time when they could be flying high with their big projects and the tasks that really earn a lot of money for the business, but instead they're caught up in email management and they're caught up in phone calls and appointment booking and all of those sort of things that an executive assistant can easily do. So in this podcast today, we're going to go through some other big tasks that every real estate business owner should be able to relate to. And we're going to look at the two sides of each task, which is the high level things, which only you can do, the big stuff, the big rocks, and the low level stuff that ideally an executive assistant based remotely can easily do, so you are not kept caught in the weeds, in the ball and chain stuff that just wears you out, causes resentment and disillusionment in the position you've created for yourself, because you've done it originally for freedom, but you've got caught up in the nuts, what we call it, the nuts and bolts on the tools, whatever. Michael, one of the things that you mentioned to me also is you're speaking to a lot of bosses that they ideally want to be doing the high level stuff, but they've been caught getting back involved in the business. What are some of the typical things that you've seen?
Yeah, we all know there's a high turnover of staff in the industry at the moment. It's hard to find other staff, and so business owners are falling back into the old school momentum of doing the property management, the mundane, repetitious tasks. They're struggling to replace the properties on the rent roll that have been sold. And bringing on profitable business. We're seeing business owners out there now that are struggling, and they're bringing on any property at any price, like at any percentage, just so they can have it on the book, because they're just trying to plug a hole. And there are agencies out there, because they haven't got that time, they haven't got that staff, they're just dropping their prices, dropping them. Whereas they know that if they were out there being the front of the business and being able to communicate and talk to their current client base, talk to new prospects, focus on that high income, they would be bringing in better quality properties. They'd be bringing in better quality relationships, not just trying to plug holes. And we see this, Darren, everywhere through New Zealand, Australia, the UK. If you're not dealing with your client, somebody else is. Time is the biggest issue that all these business owners have at the moment. They just don't have the time.
No, I agree. And so let's start with data entry, Michael. Let's start with data entry. I mean, what's data entry and how can real estate bosses relate? I mean, what are they doing all day, every day around data entry, and what shouldn't they be doing? So tell me about data entry. What sort of tasks are typically that?
Well, for starters, a business owner shouldn't really be doing any data entry at all, because it's just entering information from a document, from a sheet, from a mail out that's going into a CRM or some type of database where you would use like a HubSpot or a Pipe Drive and things like that, where you're looking for the high value content. Business owners go and get new business agreements signed, giving that to the EA to enter that into the system with a good level of accuracy. So your information is only as good as the information going in. Entering in new leads. So, Darren, you may have some funnel generation going on where you bring in new leads coming into the system, making sure that they're being entered in accurately, that there's no information missing. Because, Darren, when you're talking about data entry, like I would much rather be sitting on the side of HubSpot or Pipe Drive and calling the inquiries that have come through, rather than putting the data into the system, wasting that time, those leads that are there, or even having them pre-qualified and put into different hot, warm, cold positions. I just want to be looking at that CRM and saying, hey, Darren, Michael from IGT Realty, I see you've made an inquiry about us managing your property. Can I ask you a few more questions? That's the call that I want from a data entry side of things.
But it's avoiding the wear and tear factor that comes with having to put that data in yourself and then making the call. Imagine being able to just do the call without all of that wear and tear and data entry that goes in. Someone's already done it for you the way that you want it done.
And we talk about that hour of power, even 2 hours of power, where you lock yourself in a room and, you know, you meant to just be doing new business related activities. But what we see is most people lock the door for an hour and they're kind of going through their emails, trying to find the lead, trying to find the inquiry that's come through, entering it into their property CRM, and then making a call. So whereas we want them making, you know, 10 to 40 calls during their hours of power, they're only making 2 or 3 connects, like a day or even a week in some cases. Having the ability to close that door, open up your CRM and see you've got everything already in there and you can just make solid connects, high value connects, rather than wasting all your time, that's where the money is.
The last podcast episode, everyone, we talked about appointment management. And for me, I get people, they email me, Darren, I've just make an inquiry on this. And then, your email goes back. Oh, yeah, no worries. Love to chat with you about it. When will you be available? What days next week? Oh, I'll be available Friday, Thursday, this. Oh, okay, what times? Ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong. And then finally, you get that person booking your diary or whatever, and you're on your way. But for me, I just got the appointment done. It's in my diary. All I have to worry about is showing up at that time and pressing that button, opening up the Zoom, and all of that work to get that appointment into my diary is done for me. I haven't got the wear and tear around my time that's taken away me from other things that I could be doing. This is what we're talking about here. So Michael, you've illustrated that really well around all of the data entry and what we could be getting an executive assistant to do, and then allowing us to fly much faster and much higher and quicker. Let's talk about the next one we've got here is document prep. So what are the typical documents that real estate bosses would normally be handling themselves? Michael, what would that be?
Well, I guess the hottest document that they would be preparing would be a new business agreement. Right,
and
making sure
sale as well, right? I mean, there's a lot of bosses still selling. It's that as well, isn't it?
We have executive assistants in our team, Darren, that handle that full sales progression, and they're preparing the sales agreement. You know, making sure the percentage is in there, and obviously that when a salesperson goes and sits down in front of their client, then if they make any changes, they just do it with a pen on the spot. But having everything in there, having all the water details, anything that's specific to the state legislation that you need to have on that agreement, already done. Sending it out through DocuSign. And it's not just those sales agreements either. It's also those internal documentation that you would have with teams. So you have a new team member coming on board, creating that HR agreement, making sure that everything is correct in there, making sure that, if you have an office lease agreement, all that information that comes in, filling out, we have executive assistants that are going through and completing out that pre-questionnaire information for PI insurance and other types of insurances, because that's putting in company details, company information, turnover, and so on. That's the level of trust like we have with REA, right? That they're handling that information there. And for me, like when I was going out for new listing presentations, they would handle putting together the proposal, the CMA, all that information. That was done. Yeah, I had to train them on what I like, what I look for in properties for rent and so on. But that's fine. That's easy. Like, we're not the only ones in the world that can do that. It's not a unique talent how to work out a comparable rent.
Yeah. Now, everyone, I'm going to introduce you. You may have spoken to this lady before in our last podcast, but this is Beverly, who is my executive assistant. Hi, Bev. How you going?
It's me
Welcome
again.
back. Yeah, there you go. She always knows that she's being recorded here. But Bev, we're talking now about when I'm signing up a coaching client, right? So we meet, you and I, when I've got a coaching client and I know that we're going to go ahead, they want coaching from us, we've got to create an agreement. And there's a lot of details in our coaching agreement, correct? Mm-hmm. Beverly, you meet with me. And what do you do from that point to, in that a meeting, what happens from that point to where you prepare the coaching agreement and then get it done by DocuSign and the tell us about that whole process of what you do.
So when you meet with with a client who's going to sign up for coaching, so you include me in that meeting, and then we get their details that will be included in the contract. And then I update the spreadsheet where all their details are there. And then from that spreadsheet, I fill out the document that's going to be uploaded to the DocuSign. But so I fill that out, and then I let you review it for any changes. And then when it's been checked by you, then I upload it to DocuSign and I send it to the client.
Yeah. So everyone, you can see that it's a big, important task. The coming up with a coaching agreement is an important task. Bev does all the low-level stuff that just, I don't need to be keying in the details. Beverly's got that. She then brings the document to my attention before it's finished for me to review it. So I just check it over to make sure everything's good. That only takes probably 30 seconds of my time because I know the document well and I know what bits need to be correct. And then it's, yep, no problem. So once I give Bev the green light, it's then converted to DocuSign, which is then sent to the client. The client's expecting it. And we get it signed and back. So, you know, my time spent on that document is so minimal, and it's not get caught up in doing unnecessary things. So well done, Bev. But also you creating tax invoices as well. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. And what you do with that tax invoice information? How do you create a tax invoice?
Well, because you've already shown me how to do it, or well, just request actually. And then there's already like a template for the description and everything. And you just give me the amount because it changes from time to time. And so I request for that and I send it out to the client. But it depends on, because sometimes it's a tax invoice, but sometimes it's also like a Stripe link. So
It could be
that
Stripe
it's,
link, but we're dealing with different
yeah.
currencies as well. Sometimes we're charging GST and we're not. But more importantly, you're dealing directly with our bookkeeper to get that,
Yes.
that invoice. You and give them the instructions on a basic spreadsheet. The bookkeeper then creates that invoice, gets it to you, and then you get it to the client, correct? So I'm not seeing any of those things, everyone. I'm just giving the absolute basic details that Bev needs to get the invoice created via the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper creates that on QuickBooks, and then it's all sent out from there. So it just works so well, Bev. Just want to say a big thank you.
You're welcome. And also, like, let's say they haven't signed the DocuSign or they haven't paid the invoice, then I follow up also.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. We have a follow-up system. So invoices aren't being paid. You got high level and low level. Bev does the initial contact, sends an email. Hey, just can you please confirm the progress of payment of invoice that was due? They will attach the invoice again. And then Bev will let us know that after a couple of attempts, if there's been no response, that's when we can get involved. So doing the high level stuff, and we can maybe make a phone call or something like that. So everyone understand those big tasks that you're doing. There's the low end stuff that an executive assistant can easily be doing. And there's the high level stuff that only you should be doing, but you should not be doing both because it's going to kill your time. So Bev, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate your help on that one.
You're welcome. See ya.
See you later. Thank you, Bev. All right, well, moving on. That was document preparation, and there's so many different documents, you know, as business owners that you're dealing with, that you could be getting all of that low level work done easily by an executive assistant at a third of the cost of having to employ someone of similar level at your office. But Michael, the next one I've got on here is e-filing. Tell us about that job that bosses are doing and shouldn't be doing, and what can be done by an executive assistant.
E-filing for us was an important thing, Darren. A couple of reasons. One, when emails would come through and documents were attached to that, I want to know that the document is being saved in the drive or wherever I needed it to be associated. And that could be a signed document that has to be linked up to the property, to the owner's file on the property CRM or my Google Drive or wherever it was, but I didn't have to do it. The other thing was, Darren, that like I constantly download files while I'm on the computer all the time, and they have got different file names, and I could have scanned something in and it comes up with 25 different characters on there and so on. They all went to a common drive, like a common Google Drive. my EA would go through and open those files and then rename each file. So that also meant that if I was looking for a document on the computer system, all I had to do was type in, like, I don't know, water rates Robina, or whatever the keywords were. It made searchable really easy. And there are software out there that helps you do all that. But if you just change the file name, Darren, on modern day systems like CRMs, like Dropbox and Google Drive and the Microsoft, it makes it really searchable. And that was really easy. And also too, when I had physical paper documents that come into the office, we would scan them on, and the setting on the scanner would be that it would, scan back and front, but it wouldn't be, be separate documents. It just meant that the EA could then go to that common file, see all the scanned files, create a custom name to that, add that to the right folder, and it was already allocated. I didn't have to worry about it. And me putting a file of documents on the scanner doesn't take long at all. Put it there, press scan, it's already done, and then someone else is dealing with it. That's the best way for e-filing. I know there are systems out there, Darren, and you don't really have to do that, but Bev does a lot for you around it you wouldn't even know about. So she does all your e-filing anyway. Darren before was like, I don't really do e-filing. It's not really something that I do, but Bev does that for you all the time.
Correct. And she knows where everything is.
She knows where everything is. I even use Bev. I'm like, hey Bev, can you send a link for this? Can you make sure someone else has access to that? Can you find that for me? She knows where everything is. And with Bev, she's absolutely fantastic. We found Bev when Dennis and I went over to the Philippines in about 2020, and we ran one of our REVA events, which is Real Estate Virtual Assistant, where we have people come in person to attend one of our trainings so that we can identify the best talent that is available to us that can attend on the day. Bev came to the very first one, and hasn't she been such a valuable asset to the team?
She's great. And she works our hours, and we had an adjustment in daylight savings the other day. So she adjusted to that, so she works fully in sync with us. She's one internet connection away, one text chat away, one phone call away. And she's, not doing the work of any executive assistant, but not based at our location. And I'm thankful she isn't, because I don't have to deal with all of the chit chat that goes on between tasks, or all of that sort of thing there, or managing a desk and all the costs that go with a desk for her to be at that location, and all of the costs that go with managing that employee. It's just not there. And that's why we can employ a person as high level as any executive assistant in Australia, but at a third of the cost. Because when you've got a person in Australia that you're paying them $80,000, $100,000 to be doing all of those high level tasks that your workers can't do, you've then got desk costs. And Michael, we look, an executive assistant with desk costs could be, well over $100,000. And so, all right, let's move on with that. Now, look, if you're traveling and doing travel, whether you're going to conferences or going to seminars, you've got hotels to book, you've got flights to book, all of that busy stuff as well, especially if you're learning like us or running events like us. Michael, let's talk about the travel burden and the travel tasks, the organization around that, and what are the low-level things that an executive assistant could be carrying and saving you time on.
Yeah, this is a really important one for me too. As most people know, we travel quite a bit around the world. And between you, Dennis, myself, we all have unique ways of how we look for our travel, right? So I'm really fastidious. I'm always looking for the lowest, best price possible with a good airline, looking at point options, looking at status credit options, looking at, places where I want to stay, knowing how to use Airbnb, Booking.com, all these different parameters when there's travel. And I'm quite involved in that. Whereas like you, for example, you just want to make sure that you're getting from A to B comfortably without having to deal with all this extra baggage stuff and just all the headaches that go along with travel. You want to know you got a hotel at the other end when you get there, that it's comfortable, that it's in a good location where you can walk around and so on. So your requirements are uniquely different. Having an EA though that can kind of say, well, Darren, we know that you like flying Qantas or Virgin or whoever. We're going to book you on that flight and we're going to get you from A to B, and we know that you don't want to be spending heaps of time at airports and that. So we're going to find you this, you may want to have a crossover in, let's say, Sydney for a couple of hours. They'll just book that for you and you're fine with that. And that saves you a lot of time. And even if you do have a big layover, you know that you're going to get work done. Whereas with me, I want to know that I'm leaving at an airport at a certain time, that my layover is minimal, that when I land, I know that I can get to a train station or an Uber or whatever it is that I need when I get there, that my hotel is, I'm staying at a hotel that I know that I can get early check-in in through points and so on. So I need an EA that can do that, that understands how I travel. Other business owners out there that aren't traveling as much, but they may have to go to conferences, they may have to go interstate or overseas, not just limited to a business trip, right? This also applies if you're going away on family. Your EA can actually go online and go to like Skyscanner and so on and find you the best route, the best option. Also look at hotels that would suit exactly what you need, the location that you need, and give you options. And then you can say, yes, either book me on this flight or book me in this hotel, or, if you're a control freak, you can book it in yourself if you don't want to give your credit card details out.
Let's talk about that, Michael. I was about to say, how do people manage the credit card situation of giving potentially fraud opportunity to someone, or giving someone else your credit card details? What's some ways we can get around this, that we can provide some level of safety there? What's a good hack there, Michael?
Yeah, see, I'm okay giving my credit card to my EAs because I trust them and I know everything about them. And, they can go and spend on travel and things like that. If there's a fraudulent transaction with my credit card, I know I can cancel that and get it reversed. The safest way and option for if you have an EA and you want them to purchase things on your behalf is give them a Visa or MasterCard debit card. And most of you know that type of account, you can only spend what's in there. And you'd put maybe like $500 or $1,000, or if you're getting a travel, put that amount in there. So that's all they can spend in there. And you know that there's going to be nothing untoward that happens there. Like if you've got an unlimited credit card or access to other funds, it's limiting. You've safeguarded and protected yourself.
You've got a cap on it, and you can top it up as well. So
Correct.
You see the purchases in there, you can top it up, and you're safe that if something happens, just shut the account down or shut the card off. And it's got a limited funds in it anyway. So there's many ways around these things. People don't let what I call the big butts get in your way. Like, but Darren, what about credit? There's a way around everything. So just certainly see the possibilities here. Michael, personal appointments. Now let's talk about that. Now we're busy. We've got personal lives. We've got work lives. But how can an executive assistant help us when we cross the boundary from being busy at work to actually help with being busy with personal stuff? How can that work?
Oh my God, game changer. I mean, we're in school holidays at the moment. And CATCA, for example, went and scoured all the school holiday programs. Our kids are going to bounce every day at the moment for a few hours every day, booking in those appointments, finding, and we say that, we're going to take them to the movies and we want to see Mario Brothers or something, going to the local cinema, going online and booking that in, not local, but our shopping, our home shopping. So if there's something that we're missing on the shopping list or we want to get through delivered home shopping, we send them, hey, we need some more tomato sauce, we need some more butter, like whatever it is. They go on to our Woolworths online or Coles online, add it to the shopping list, and they purchase those items, and then it gets delivered, right? Rather than us having to go online. Again, the kids for us is a huge thing, like making sure that they go on and say that you have these activities on the weekend, you can do 1, 2, 3. Here's some after school programs they can be doing. Darren, school swimming, like with us, I travel, it's hard for Kat to get the kids to the swimming all the time. Communicating with the pool saying, hey, we can't attend this weekend, we'll do the makeup session on this day. Having them help us with personal tasks around the house, remotely, is a massive game changer. Huge. Gives us so much time.
You could actually create a spreadsheet with all the things of your shopping list that you need and get that person to do online shopping at Woolworths or Coles or whatever supermarket online you can do, and let them do the shopping for you with some parameters around it, some guidelines around it. Look for specials on this, don't do that, or whatever, and just be very clear on what you buy, and even do a string recording beforehand of the typical products you do, and you can be getting them doing your shopping for you.
With like Woolworths, for example, it shows you what you purchased before. And like Kat has a shared document, and all she does is go into that like note and says like, we need 2 loaves of bread. It's already on there, the type that we prefer. All the preferences are already set on there. After the first 1 or 2 shops, it's just a case of we need tomato sauce. They know this is the type of tomato sauce. We want more eggs. They know that we want free range eggs. It's like a certain product. They know what we want. And Kat CA does all that shopping for us. Kat doesn't even worry about it. In fact, she would only go to the supermarket now for those emergency items that she needs. Physical, I need it now. But with Woolworths, they deliver in like 2 hours.
No, that's fantastic. So, look, Michael, what's the best way how can people get in contact with you?
Well, the best way would go to unbusychat.com. And that'll book you directly into my diary, and we can have a direct conversation to see how we can work out what's important to you, what you're looking for, what you need, and I can show you how an executive assistant will help you with your day-to-day life. That'd be the best way, Darren. Otherwise, go to our website, teamsbydesign.com, go to the contact us form, and we'll book in a time to catch up with you. But go to unbusychat.com. That's the best way.
Now, Teams by Design, of course, can help you with executive assistants, but also virtual assistants to unbusy your property management team. The 30 tasks that they can do, so you can see the extent of how you can keep a virtual assistant very efficient and busy for you and not your team doing it. Go to teamsbydesigntasks.com. That's teamsbydesigntasks.com. Michael, great podcast show. And everyone, in our next episode, we're going to really get into a lot of the issues and problems, what it looks like when we remain busy, alrighty, when we're not getting someone else doing a lot of this, hard work for you. So, all right, Michael, great podcast show. Thanks, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you in our next podcast episode.
Thanks, everyone.